Falcon Heavy sat on pad 39A like a middle finger pointed at God, which is how I've always thought of rockets. Too much hubris wrapped in aluminum and spite. I was supposed to be giving the VIP tour to some tech billionaire's extended family, pointing out where we used to suit up back when astronauts meant something more than rode in Elon's car. Instead, I'm standing in the observation bunker watching the fuel indicators on my phone because Martinez texted me 20 minutes ago saying something felt wrong with the cryogenics. Mr. Brenner, is that where you launched from? Some kid, maybe 12, tugging my sleeve. His dad's wearing a Tesla jacket, naturally. Launch Complex 39, yeah, but that was the shuttle. This is... My phone buzzes. Martinez again. Temp spike secondary tank. Pressure's wrong. I don't want to alarm anyone. That's the thing they teach you in the astronaut program. Well, they taught us back when there was a program worth mentioning. Keep the civilians calm. Smile. Wave. Make space look easy even when it's trying to kill you. Excuse me a second, folks. I step outside the bunker, which is really just a glorified double wide with thick windows, and squint toward the pad. The gantry arms are still attached, which means they're still loading. Commercial payload, some kind of deep space probe for that mining consortium out of Luxembourg. They've been weird about what's actually in the cargo bay, NDAs thicker than the FAA manual security theater that would make TSA jealous. The thing is, I've seen weird before. I've done 6 EVAs, spent 8 months on the ISS back when it was still prestigious, and I know what weird looks like at a spaceport. This isn't weird. This is wrong. The secondary tank, that's the one with the liquid oxygen. It shouldn't be warm. Ever. The whole point of LOX is it stays at negative 297 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's warming up, if pressure's building where it shouldn't, that means either the insulation's compromised or something inside is generating heat. And nothing inside a fuel tank should ever generate heat. Jack. Martinez is running toward me from the vehicle assembly building, which is a quarter-mile away. He's 53, got a bad knee from a motorcycle accident in '09, and I've never seen him run anywhere. Jack, we need to scrub. Now. What's the reading? 12 degrees and climbing. Pressure at 140% nominal. And Jack. He stops, hands on his knees, catching his breath. Sweat's pouring down his face even though it's only 78 degrees out. There's something moving in there. I've known Carlos Martinez for 18 years. He's been a propulsion engineer since before I made my first flight. He doesn't joke about launches, doesn't exaggerate, doesn't panic. His voice right now has all three. Moving how? The sensors look, I don't know, okay? The readings are impossible. Like something's displacing the LOX but not mixing with it. Just floating. Pockets of movement where there shouldn't be any movement at all because the tank is sealed. 20 yards away, the VIP group is pressed against the bunker windows, phones out, taking selfies with the rocket in the background. The Tesla dad is explaining something to his wife, probably about how SpaceX is going to Mars next year, which is the same thing people have been saying for a decade. The kid who asked me about launches is waving. Did you call range control? They're reviewing the data. But Jack, by the time they make a decision, the secondary tank is mounted 80 feet up the booster, right below the payload fairing. If it ruptures, the LOX will hit the RP-1 fuel in the main tanks. LOX is what makes things burn. RP-1 is basically kerosene. Mix them wrong and you don't get thrust, you get an explosion big enough to level everything within 1,000 yards. The bunker is 800 yards from pad 39A. Get everyone into the bunker. Lock it down. I'm calling an evac. Jack, range control hasn't. I'm calling it. My tour, my responsibility. We're getting these people out. I'm pulling out my phone when the tank splits. Not explodes, splits, like something inside pushed outward with enough force to peel the aluminum skin apart. The sound reaches us 3 seconds later, a metallic screech that's wrong on every frequency, too high and too low at once. White vapor pours out, locks turning to gas as it hits warm air. But there's something else in the cloud. Dark specks, thousands of them. They're not falling like debris should fall. They're hovering, suspended in the lock's vapor like they're weightless, like they're in orbit. Get inside. Martinez is already running. I grab the door handle to follow him, and that's when I see the first spore hit the gantry worker. His name was Miguel Reyes. I know because his daughter Elena is in my niece's class. He's on the crew deck platform, probably trying to figure out what just happened, and one of the dark specks drifts down through the vapor and lands on his exposed forearm below his safety vest. He screams. It's not a pain scream. It's a confusion scream, the sound you make when your body does something your brain doesn't understand. He's clawing at his arm, but there's nothing visible there now, just skin, and then his arm starts moving on its own, jerking, spasming, like it's trying to float away from his body. More specks are drifting now, spreading on the wind. Some hit the concrete and actually bounce like ping-pong balls, which makes no sense for anything with mass in Earth gravity. Some are still hovering, clustering together in the white lock's fog. Inside, I shove Martinez through the bunker door and slam it behind us. The group of tourists is pressed against the far window, staring. What was that? Tesla Dad demands. Is this part of the tour? His kid is already filming on his phone. Everyone is. The modern instinct, document first, survive later. Step away from the windows. My voice has the command tone I haven't used in years, the one that made junior astronauts shut up and listen during emergencies. Away from the glass now. Sit on the floor in the center of the room. Mr. Brenner, I paid $6,000 for this. Sit down. They sit. Martinez is on the radio trying to raise range control, but all we're getting is static. My phone has no signal, which is impossible. There are 6 cell towers within 2 miles of this pad. I try anyway, pulling up the NASA emergency line, but it won't connect. Through the window, I can see Miguel Reyes on the platform. He's not screaming anymore. He's standing perfectly still, head tilted back, arms at his sides. Then his arms start rising. Not like he's lifting them, like something's lifting them, pulling them up toward the sky. His feet leave the platform. He's floating. 60 feet in the air, Miguel Reyes hangs suspended in Earth's gravity like he's back in orbit. The dark specks are swarming around him now, thousands of them, and his body is jerking in rhythm with their movement. Papa, what's happening to that man? The kid, 12 years old, still filming. Carlos, my voice is steady even though my hands aren't. Tell me what was in that payload. Martinez won't look at me. They called it a deep space probe. Soil samples from an asteroid mission that got scrubbed. Government buyback, they said. Frozen storage. They said it was frozen. Which asteroid? I don't know. The manifests were classified. All I know is it came from a private collector. Some billionaire's personal space program. They said the samples were dormant, completely inert. The bunker window cracks. Not breaks, cracks. A single line running diagonal across the reinforced glass. One of the spores is stuck to the outside, and where it touches, the glass is crystallizing, spreading outward in geometric patterns that look less like fracture and more like growth. I count 15 people in this bunker. 5 adults, 8 kids, Martinez, and me. The door is steel, probably safe. The windows are reinforced polycarbonate, rated for hurricane debris, not rated for whatever this is. Outside, the lock's vapor is spreading across the pad, carried by the wind toward the parking area, toward the visitor complex, toward the evacuation gates where 200 tourists are probably still lined up waiting for the next tour. Miguel Reyes is still floating. As I watch, 2 more gantry workers drift up to join him, their bodies moving in synchronized spasms. The spores are everywhere now, filling the air like black snow that falls upward. My phone buzzes once. A text from an unknown number. Emergency alert. Cape Canaveral, extraterrestrial pathogen detected. Then another. Emergency alert. Launchpad quarantine in effect. Mr. Brenner? The kid again. Still filming. Are we going to die? I look at Martinez. He's staring at the cracked window, at the spore that's turning glass into something that looks organic. I look at the tourists pressed together on the floor, some crying, some still trying to get their phones to work. I look at the rocket on pad 39A, bleeding impossible contamination into Florida air. Not if I can help it, I say, even though I have no idea if that's true. Even though I'm remembering something from my last mission 6 years ago, when we did an experiment on zero-gravity bacterial growth. The lead scientist told me bacteria can survive in space, dormant for millions of years, waiting for the right conditions to wake up. I'm remembering how some bacteria, when exposed to microgravity, can mutate, can adapt. Outside, Miguel Reyes's body jerks once more. Then he starts floating toward us, pulled by invisible currents, his arms outstretched like he's swimming through an ocean that isn't there. And behind him, following in formation, come the others. The infected, still rising, still drifting, still moving with that terrible zero-gravity grace. They're heading for the bunker. Carlos, I say quietly, how long until that LOX cloud reaches the visitor complex? He checks his watch. Does math I don't want him to do. 7 minutes, maybe 6. 6 minutes to warn 200 people. 6 minutes before whatever's in those spores spreads across the most popular tourist destination in Florida. I look at the steel door, at the cracking window, at 15 people who trusted me to keep them safe. We need to move, I say. The service tunnel under the observation bunker smells like 40 years of coffee spills and government-grade disinfectant. I'm pushing Tesla Dad through the access hatch first because he's the one most likely to hesitate, and hesitation will get everyone killed. His wife follows, then the kids. 8 of them ranging from maybe 8 to 15, all looking at their phones even though I told them to put them away. Emergency lighting flickers overhead. The tunnel was built during Apollo for emergency evac, back when we thought radiation leaks were the worst thing that could happen at a launch site. Turns out we weren't thinking weird enough. Mr. Brenner, my daughter's inhaler. It's in the bus. That's Mrs. Kim, one of the chaperones. School group from Jacksonville. She's got a kid's backpack clutched to her chest, and I can see the kid, Sophia, 12, breathing okay but starting to wheeze from stress. How bad? She can go 20 minutes, maybe 30 if she stays calm. I check my watch. 11:47 a.m. The LOX spill happened at 11:42. Carlos said 6 minutes until the cloud reached the visitor complex. We're at 3 minutes 30 seconds. Everyone stay together. Martinez, your rear guard. Anyone falls behind, you carry them. Clear. Clear. The tunnel runs 300 yards south-southeast, terminates at the old VAB service entrance. Should be locked, but I've got override codes from my consulting contract. Should still work. Should. A lot of shoulds in this plan, which is the worst kind of plan for anything involving space hardware, but it's what we've got. Sophia is breathing harder. Hey, I drop back beside her. You ever want to be an astronaut? She looks up, eyes red from crying, nods. First thing they teach you in astronaut school. Panic uses 3 times more oxygen than calm. You start panicking up there, you die. So what do? Breathe slow. Breathe slow. Count to 4 breathing in, hold for 4, out for 4. Can you do that? She tries, gets to 3 before her breath hitches. That's okay. Try again. I'll count with you. We're breathing together when we reach the VAB entrance. My badge still works. The door opens onto the cathedral-sized space of the vehicle assembly building, 50 stories tall. built to stack the Saturn V, now mostly empty except for some commercial capsule assembly in the far corner and a lot of echoes. Also empty of people, which is wrong. The VAB always has people. Carlos, where's the assembly crew? He's checking his phone, which now has 1 bar of signal. Group text says range control called General Evac 20 minutes ago, before the spill. 20 minutes before? They knew, Martinez whispers. Jesus Christ, Jack. They knew something was going to happen. Before I can process that, my phone buzzes with another signal bar. Messages flood in, all time-stamped from the last 10 minutes. Emergency alert. Launchpad quarantine in effect. Emergency alert. All personnel evacuate to designated shelters. Emergency alert. Do not approach pad 39A. And then one from a number I recognize, Sandra Fitch, Range Control Supervisor, my former flight director on the ISS. Jack, if you're reading this, stay away from the gates. Infected at checkpoints. Trying to breach. Police opened fire, didn't work. Whatever those things are, bullets don't stop them. They're floating, Jack. Flying. Like they don't understand gravity anymore. Get to shelter and stay put. Mr. Brenner? Tesla Dad is pointing at the VAB's north entrance, the one facing the visitor complex. What's that? At first I think it's smoke. Dark, roiling clouds pouring through the gap under the massive doors. But smoke rises. This is spreading horizontally, hugging the ground, and there are shapes in it. Thousands of specks, moving with purpose, clustering and separating like a murmuration of starlings. The spores have reached the VAB. Everyone back. Through the personnel exit now. We're running. The kids are screaming again. Mrs. Kim has Sophia under one arm. The girl's breathing rapid and shallow, definitely heading toward an asthma attack. The spore cloud is spreading fast, too fast, flowing across the VAB floor like water. No, not like water, like they're searching. I grab a welding helmet from a workstation, slam it over my head. The thick plastic visor might buy me 30 seconds if the spores try to make contact. Martinez sees what I'm doing, grabs another helmet, tosses it to Tesla Dad. Anyone who can cover their face, cover it. Jackets, shirts, anything. Don't let those things touch your skin. We burst through the personnel exit onto the VAB service road. The visitor complex is a quarter-mile northeast, and I can see the problem immediately. The evacuation is stalled. Cars are packed bumper to bumper from the main gate to the parking lot. Nobody moving. People are on foot now, running toward the gate, but the gate isn't opening. Because the guards are floating. 3 security officers, suspended 15 feet in the air above the checkpoint, bodies jerking in synchronized spasms. The crowd below is panicking, pushing against the fence, and I can see more spores in the air above them, drifting down like malevolent snow. A woman breaks through the fence, runs maybe 10 steps before a spore lands on her shoulder. She stops, tilts her head back, then she starts to rise. Jesus Christ. Martinez is beside me, staring. How is that possible? What kind of organism can? Doesn't matter what it is. Matters that we're not infected yet. I count our group. 15 all accounted for. Sophia is sitting on the ground now, Mrs. Kim trying to keep her calm, but the girl's breathing is coming in short gasps. My phone rings. Actually rings, not just buzzes. Sandra Fitch. Jack, thank God. Where are you? VAB service road with 15 civilians. Got a kid going into an asthma attack. Need her inhaler from a tour bus in the visitor complex lot. But Sandra, the gates are compromised. The infected are. I know what they are. We've been watching on satellite for 8 minutes. Jack, listen to me carefully. Those spores, whatever they are, they're exhibiting non-Newtonian behavior. Zero-gravity physics in Earth's atmosphere. When they infect someone, The infection spreads to surrounding tissue and overrides normal biological responses to gravity. The infected stop falling, start floating. And Jack, they're not dead. Brain activity persists. They're still conscious in there. I look at the 3 security guards floating above the gate. Still moving, still jerking, still alive inside bodies that don't obey physics anymore. How do we stop them? We don't know. We've tried. Her voice breaks. Jack, we've tried everything. Gunfire passes through them, they just heal. Fire makes them move faster like it excites the spores. We had a SWAT team try to contain the perimeter 15 minutes ago. Now we have 18 more infected. They're spreading through contact, through proximity, maybe through air. We don't know. The kid needs her inhaler, Sandra. Silence on the line. Then, the bus is in Section D parking, about 200 yards from your position. You'd have to cross through the main pedestrian area. Jack, there are at least 40 infected floating in that space right now. I look at Sophia. Her lips are turning blue. Tell me about the old Apollo bunker system. What? The fallout shelters. From the Cold War. You're from that era. You consulted on the historical renovations. Are they still accessible? Jack, those haven't been used in, wait. Yes, there's one under the original Mission Control building. The entrance is in the basement, behind the server rooms. But that's 800 yards northeast. I can get there from here without crossing the main complex. Can you guide us in remotely? I can try. But Jack, if those spores spread that far? They're already spreading. Question is whether we get to shelter before they get to us. I look at Martinez, Tesla dad, at Mrs. Kim with Sophia in her arms. Can you get everyone to that bunker? Keep them safe. Martinez grabs my shoulder. What are you doing? Getting the inhaler. Jack, you'll never. I was on the ISS for 8 months, Carlos. I know how to move in zero gravity. Maybe that helps. Maybe it doesn't. But if I don't try, that kid dies. I pull out my badge, hand it to Martinez. This opens the bunker door. Access code is 78-24-19. My launch date. Get everyone inside. Seal it. Don't open it for anyone unless they can prove they're clean. How do we prove that? Good question. I look at the floating infected, at the spores drifting in the air like toxic fireflies. Anyone who's been exposed longer than 2 minutes shows symptoms. Skin starts itching where the spores made contact. Then numbness. Then the floating starts. So keep everyone together. Watch for symptoms. And if anyone starts showing signs, we can't just abandon them. Then you contain them. I don't know, Carlos. I'm making this up as I go. But if we all stay here, we all die. So move. He moves, gets everyone organized, starts herding them toward the Mission Control building. The kids are crying, but they're moving. Sophia is limp in Mrs. Kim's arms, her breathing barely visible now. I head toward the visitor complex. The service road runs parallel to the main approach, separated by a landscaped berm that's supposed to look natural but was built from dredge spoil in the 60s. I keep low, moving fast, helmet still on because the spores are everywhere now. I can see them in my peripheral vision, dark specks against the Florida sky, defying gravity, searching. 200 yards. The parking lot comes into view. Cars abandoned, doors open, belongings scattered across the asphalt. A tour bus sits in Section D, side door open, probably where everyone evacuated from. That's where Sophia's inhaler is. Between me and the bus, 43 infected. I count them because you count everything in space, every bolt, every seal, every variable. Old habits. They're floating at different heights, some at 10 feet, some at 30, moving with that terrible synchronized grace, like they're swimming through invisible currents. A woman in a NASA polo shirt, a kid maybe 8 years old, An elderly man in a Vietnam vet cap, all suspended, all jerking in rhythm with whatever's controlling them now. The spores are thickest around them, forming clouds, clustering at the infection sites. I take off the welding helmet, can't see well enough with it on, and make the calculation. The bus is 60 yards. I can run it in maybe 15 seconds if I push hard. The infected are drifting at roughly 1 foot per second. If I time it right, pass between them when they're at the peak of their drift pattern. A spore lands on my forearm. For a second, nothing happens. Then the itch Sandra mentioned, like a mosquito bite but deeper, spreading under my skin. I watch as my arm hair starts to stand on end, every follicle vertical. The skin around the spore contact point is going numb. 10 seconds until symptoms progress, based on what I saw with Miguel Reyes. I run 60 yards in a dead sprint. My legs remember this from astronaut training, from the emergency evac drills where we had to clear the pad in under 20 seconds before a fuel leak turned critical. The infected are drifting closer. I can hear them now, not screaming, not moaning, humming, a low-frequency vibration that makes my teeth ache. The bus door is open. I vault inside, scan the seats. Empty, empty. Third row back, a small backpack with Sophia Kim, written in purple marker. My arm is tingling. The numbness is spreading past my elbow. I grab the backpack, unzip it, find the inhaler, turn to run, and that's when I see her. The tour guide. I don't know her name, but I recognize her from the morning briefing. Young, maybe 25, astronomy degree from Florida State, excited about the launch. She's floating right outside the bus door, 10 feet up, eyes open and staring directly at me. She's trying to say something. Her mouth is moving, but the only sound is that terrible humming. Tears are running down her face. I'm sorry, I tell her, even though it's meaningless, even though she probably can't understand me anymore. I jump past her, hit the ground running. The infected are converging now, all of them drifting toward where I was, where the spore made contact with my skin. Like they can sense it, like they're drawn to new infections. My arm is completely numb now. I can't feel my hand, but I can still run. 50 yards. The humming is getting louder, closer. 40 yards. My feet feel light, like I'm pushing off a surface that isn't quite solid anymore. 30 yards. The service road is right there. My feet leave the ground. For a moment, I'm actually floating, 1 foot hovering 3 inches above the asphalt, and I understand what's happening. The spores are rewriting basic physics in my tissue, making me respond to forces that shouldn't exist, making gravity optional. I force my foot down, slam it into the pavement hard enough to send pain shooting up my leg. The pain helps, focuses me. I take another step, another, fighting against the lifting sensation with every movement. The service road. I clear the berm, and that's when I see Martinez sprinting back toward me. No, get to the bunker. Shut up and run, Jack. He's got someone's jacket in his hands, wraps it around my numb arm in one quick motion, tight enough to cut circulation. Tourniquet, maybe slows the spread. Come on. We run together. Behind us, the infected are converging on the bus, dozens of them now, clustering in the air like a flock. The humming is so loud it's making the bus windows vibrate. Mission Control Building. 300 yards. My arm is pulling upward despite the tourniquet, like there's a balloon attached to it. I'm compensating, tilting my body weight to counteract the lift, and it's working, but it won't work for long. 200 yards. A spore lands on Martinez's neck. He doesn't stop running, but I see his hand go to the spot, see him wince. 100 yards. We're both going to be infected, both going to float, but we're going to get Sophia her inhaler first because that's what you do when you're an astronaut. You complete the mission even when the mission is impossible. The Mission Control Building door is open. Tesla Dad is there, the rest of the group behind him, and they're pulling us inside. The door slams shut. Heavy steel, Cold War vintage, built to withstand things worse than spores. Built to survive things that came from the sky. Basement. Martinez is already moving, hand still on his neck. Access stairs, east corridor. Go. We go. Down 2 flights. Through the server room where ancient computers still blink with telemetry that nobody reads anymore. To a door marked authorized personnel only that hasn't been opened in probably 30 years. My badge works. Of course it does. NASA never throws anything away. The bunker is exactly what you'd expect from 1962. Concrete walls, fluorescent lights that still work somehow, air filters that haven't been cleaned since Reagan. And more importantly, it's sealed. Deep enough that spores can't penetrate. Old enough that it was built for something worse than alien contamination. Mrs. Kim grabs the inhaler from my hand, administers it to Sophia. The girl breathes, gasps, breathes again. Color returns to her lips. Jack. Martinez is looking at his hand, at his neck. The skin is pale where the spore touched. How long do I have? I look at my arm. It's floating now, actually floating, pulling against the tourniquet, trying to rise. The sensation is spreading to my shoulder. I don't know. Based on Reyes, maybe 20 minutes before full symptoms. So what do we do? I look around the bunker, at 15 terrified people who trusted me to keep them safe. At Sophia Kim breathing shakily through her inhaler. At Martinez who ran back into danger to save me even though it meant getting infected himself. At my arm defying gravity, proving that everything we thought we knew about biology and physics is wrong. We figure out how to stop this, I say, before it spreads beyond Cape Canaveral. Outside, above us, I can hear it now through the concrete. The humming. Hundreds of voices, thousands, all vibrating at the same impossible frequency. The infected are spreading, multiplying, floating through Florida air like a new law of nature. And we have maybe 20 minutes before Martinez and I join them. The bunker has supplies, MREs from 2003, water rations that expired during Obama's first term, and exactly 1 medical kit containing Band-Aids, aspirin, and a blood pressure cuff. No anti-spore medication, no zero-gravity antidote, nothing useful for fighting extraterrestrial contamination that rewrites physics in human tissue. My arm is completely vertical now, pulling so hard the tourniquet is cutting into my bicep. Martinez is sitting against the wall, both hands on his neck, pressing down like he can force the infection to stop spreading. His feet are twitching, starting to lift. Mr. Brenner? That's the Tesla kid again, still holding his phone. I got some signal back. It's bad. Really bad. He shows me the screen. News alerts, social media, everything flooding in now that we're underground where the spores can't interfere with the cellular network. Cape Canaveral quarantine. 200 plus infected. Airborne threat spreads to Titusville. CDC establishes 50-mile exclusion zone. Military jets scrambled. Containment protocols in effect. And then, on his Instagram feed, video someone posted 16 minutes ago. The visitor complex from above, drone footage showing the infected. They're not randomly drifting anymore. They're organizing, moving in formations. The view pans across the parking lot where I just was, and I can see what they're doing. They're gathering near the fuel silos, where the remaining LOX tanks are stored. Carlos. My voice sounds wrong, distant. The numbness is in my chest now. They're going to rupture the other tanks. He looks at me, eyes red, whether from fear or early infection symptoms I can't tell. Why? What's the evolutionary advantage of? Not evolution. Strategy. More fuel means more spores. The things are frozen in cryogenic storage, right? Deep space dormancy. The LOX is still cold enough to keep them inert. But if they warm up, if they hit Earth atmosphere, They wake up. Jesus Christ, Jack. How many tanks are we talking about? I remember the manifest from this morning. The payload schedule, the fuel allocations. 6 operational LOX tanks at the South facility. That's probably 6 million liters. If that ruptures and the spores are in it. It won't be Cape Canaveral anymore. Martinez's voice is shaking. It'll be the whole state. Through the bunker ceiling, muffled but clear. The humming is getting louder. Closer. They're above us now, the infected, hundreds of them organizing into something that looks less like a disaster and more like an invasion. My phone buzzes. Sandra Fitch again, this time a video call. Her face fills the screen, and she's somewhere dark, underground probably, emergency lighting making her look like she hasn't slept in years. Jack, tell me you're sealed in. We're in the old Apollo bunker under mission control. Is the military really scrambling jets? F-22s out of Jacksonville, but Jack, they're not here to contain. They're here to sterilize. We've got authorization for thermobaric ordnance in 90 minutes if the spread isn't contained. They're going to turn Cape Canaveral into a crater. Behind her I can hear arguing, someone shouting about civilian casualties, someone else about acceptable losses. The calculation is brutal but simple. 200 infected versus 30 million people in Florida. The infected are heading for the fuel silos, I tell her. If they rupture those tanks before the airstrike. I know. We're watching on satellite. Jack, we need to deactivate those silos, but everyone who had the access codes is either evacuated or infected. You were on the safety committee, you consulted on the propulsion systems. Tell me there's a manual override. There is. Of course there is. NASA has redundancies for redundancies, mechanical backups for every electronic system, ways to shut down anything from anywhere because we learned from Challenger and Columbia that you can't trust automation when things go wrong. Southeast Utility Tunnel, I say, runs from the VAB to the propulsion facility. There's a manual valve system, pneumatic controls, you can dump the LOX into the secondary containment tanks underground. But Sandra, that tunnel is right under where the infected are gathering. Can you reach it? I look at my arm. It's pulling at a 45-degree angle now, straining against gravity. I look at Martinez, whose feet are 6 inches off the ground, his whole body starting to rotate slowly like he's in zero-G. Maybe, if I can move fast enough before the infection completes. Jack, if I don't, everyone dies anyway when the airstrike hits. So either way, might as well try. You stubborn son of a bitch. But she's crying. 90 minutes. That's all the time I can buy you. 90 minutes is plenty. It's not plenty. It's nowhere close to plenty. But it's what we have. I end the call. Look at the group huddled in the bunker. Tesla Dad has his arm around his wife, both of them looking at me with the expression you get from civilians who suddenly realize the guy in the NASA polo shirt is about to do something probably fatal. The kids are crying except for Sophia Kim, who's breathing steadily now, inhaler clutched in both hands. Mr. Martinez is staying here with you, I say. The bunker is sealed, there's food and water, and in 90 minutes either the military arrives or you hear a very loud noise. Either way, stay here until someone in uniform comes to get you. You're going back out there? Mrs. Kim's voice is small. After what happened to those people? Someone has to shut down the fuel system. Someone who knows where the valves are, who can move through the tunnels without getting completely lost. That's me. You're infected. Tesla Dad stands up. You'll become one of them before you get there. Maybe, probably, but Carlos is infected too, and I'm not letting him go instead. He's got 2 kids in Miami, and I'm divorced with a cat who doesn't like me that much. Math is pretty simple. Martinez tries to stand, but his feet won't touch the ground anymore. He's fully floating now, rotating slowly, and I can see the panic in his eyes, the moment when you realize your body doesn't belong to you anymore. Jack, don't. Don't leave me like this. I can't. You're going to fight it. I grab his shoulder, pull him down, hold him against the floor. Listen to me, Carlos. You've spent 30 years around rockets. You know what zero-G feels like from the simulators. You know how to orient yourself, how to move intentionally in freefall. Use that. Don't let the infection take your mind, just your body. It doesn't work like that. Make it work like that, because these people need you conscious and thinking while I'm gone. Can you do that? He looks at the ceiling, at his hands floating upward, at the terror that comes from losing your relationship with the ground. Then he nods. How long do I have? Honestly, I don't know, but you've always been better at this stuff than me. I turn to the group, to Sophia Kim, breathing steadily now, to the kids with their phones, to Tesla Dad and his wife whose names I never learned. There's food in the storage lockers, water in the tanks. Stay in this room. Don't open the door for anyone unless they can prove they're military or NASA personnel. And if, I pause, don't want to say it but have to, if Mr. Martinez starts floating too high to control, if he starts making that humming sound, you need to secure him. Tie him down with something. Don't let him touch anyone. Mrs. Kim has tears running down her face. Will you come back? It's a kid question, the kind you ask your parents when they leave for deployment or the hospital. The kind I asked my father when he shipped out to Desert Storm and didn't come home. I'm going to try my damnedest, I say. The Tesla kid steps forward. Mr. Brenner, I've been recording everything for my YouTube channel. But if you don't come back, should I don't know, post it so people know what happened? I look at his phone. At 16 minutes of footage showing the spill, the infected, our escape. Evidence that'll either be crucial for understanding this outbreak or just another viral video before Florida becomes a crater. Yeah, I tell him, post it, but wait until after the airstrike, okay? Give people time to evacuate first. He nods, solemn, understanding that his TikTok documentation might be the only record that hundreds of people existed before they became physics-defying casualties. I grab the medical kit, useless but feels better to have something, and head for the bunker door. Martinez calls after me, Jack, the valve sequence. You remember it. Primary isolation first, then secondary dump, then manual pressure release. Yeah, I remember. Good, because if you get the sequence wrong, you'll create a pressure cascade that'll rupture everything faster than the infected will. Thanks for the pep talk, Carlos. Just don't die stupidly, okay? If you're going to die, at least die while saving Florida. That's the plan. I open the bunker door. The stairwell is dark, emergency lighting flickering. Above me, I can hear it. That terrible humming, like a hive, like a machine, like something that was never meant to exist in Earth's atmosphere. The infected are directly overhead now, probably swarming around mission control, probably looking for a way inside. My arm is pulling so hard the tourniquet has cut off all circulation. I can't feel my shoulder anymore, can't feel my chest. The infection is spreading to my lungs, and when I breathe in, I feel light. Too light. Like my ribcage wants to float away from my spine. 90 minutes. Sandra said 90 minutes until the airstrike. I check my watch. 12:04 p.m. Airstrike at 1:34 p.m. Plenty of time, I tell myself, even though it's definitely not plenty of time. Even though every minute the infection spreads further through my body, making me less human and more whatever those things floating above me have become. I start climbing. The utility tunnel access is on the first floor of Mission Control, behind a door marked Mechanical Systems Only, which is NASA's way of saying authorized personnel who know what they're doing and aren't going to sue us when they get hurt. The door is locked, but my badge still works because, again, NASA never throws anything away, including my security clearance from 6 years ago. The tunnel is concrete and steel, 7 feet high, running southeast toward the propulsion facility. Emergency lights every 50 feet, most of them working. The air smells like rust and ozone and something else. Something organic that shouldn't be here. The spores. They're inside the building. Not many yet. Just a few drifting through the ventilation grates, moving with that purposeful randomness that proves they're not just particles but something intelligent, something searching. They glow faintly in the emergency lighting, bioluminescent maybe, and watching them I remember something from my astrobiology briefings. Life doesn't need Earth conditions to exist. It just needs chemistry and time. These things have had millions of years in deep space. Who knows what they learned out there? My arm is completely numb now, the infection spreading past my shoulder into my neck. I can feel it in my throat, taste it, metal and cold, and something that reminds me of the ISS recycled air, that specific flavor of atmosphere that's been processed too many times through too many filters. I'm becoming less terrestrial with every step. The tunnel slopes downward. Service panels every 100 feet, valve markers on the walls, pressure gauges showing the fuel system status. All readings normal, which means the infected haven't reached the valves yet. Small mercy. Halfway through I pass a junction labeled VAB secondary access. There's sound coming from that direction, not humming, but voices. Human voices, crying. I should keep moving. Every second counts. But I've never been good at leaving people behind, which is probably why I washed out of Mission Command. Too much empathy, they said. Too likely to prioritize individuals over mission success. I take the junction. 50 yards and I find them. 6 NASA engineers in a maintenance room, door barricaded with a filing cabinet and desperate hope. They see me through the wire mesh window and one of them, young guy, maybe 28, name tag says Patterson, practically tears the door open. Thank God. Are you evac? Is the military here? Not evac. Jack Brenner, astronaut office. Former astronaut office, but this doesn't seem like the time for precision. What happened? We were doing standard maintenance on the fuel lines when the spill hit. Sealed ourselves in here, been watching the infected through the security feeds. They're Jesus Christ, sir, they're everywhere. Hundreds of them, and they're doing something to the fuel silos. He shows me a tablet with security camera footage. The propulsion facility, external cameras, showing the silos that I'm trying to reach. The infected are clustered around them in formation, bodies pressed against the metal housing, and where they touch the steel is crystallizing just like the bunker window. Growing, changing. They're turning the silos into something, Patterson whispers, like they're trying to, interface with them? Make them part of their biology? I watch as one of the infected, it used to be someone in a NASA uniform, presses both hands against a silo panel. The metal ripples, becomes translucent, and through the new surface I can see into the tank. Millions of gallons of LOX, and floating in it, tiny dark specks. More spores, dormant, waiting. How long until they rupture the tanks? We don't know. Could be minutes, could be hours. But sir, if those things get into the LOX supply, I know what happens. I'm heading to the manual valve system to dump the fuel into secondary containment. But I need you to stay here, stay sealed, and if I don't, my throat catches. The infection is in my vocal cords now, making my voice sound hollow. If I don't shut it down in the next 80 minutes, the Air Force is going to solve the problem permanently. Patterson stares at me, at my arm, which is now floating perpendicular to my body despite my attempts to hold it down. At my eyes, which I can feel changing, vision sharpening in weird ways, depth perception getting distorted like I'm looking at everything through a fisheye lens. You're infected. Yeah. Then how are you still? How are you not floating? Good question. The numbness is spreading, but I'm still walking, still thinking. I look at my watch. 12:17 p.m. It's been 35 minutes since the spore made contact. Based on Miguel Reyes, I should be fully converted by now, drifting above the ground, mind gone to that terrible humming frequency. But I'm not. 8 months on the ISS, I say mostly to myself, 6 EVAs in actual 0G. Maybe my brain already knows how to process weightlessness. Maybe the infection can't override training that deep. Or maybe I'm just lucky. Or maybe the infection works differently on people who've already adapted to space. Or maybe I've got 70 minutes before it doesn't matter anymore because F-22s are going to turn this whole area into a fireball hot enough to sterilize anything biological. Sir, one of the other engineers, older woman, name tag, Rodriguez. The valve system, you'll need override authorization. The manual controls have a security lockout since the SpaceX incident in 21. Do you have command codes? I don't. My clearance was never that high, but Sandra Fitch would have them. She's range control, she'd have to. I pull out my phone. 1 bar. Try to call Sandra, but it won't connect. Try text. Need command codes for manual valve system. Override authorization. 3 minutes pass. No response. The signal is failing again, interference from the spores or the bunker depth or both. There's a hardline phone in the valve control room, Rodriguez says. Direct line to range control. But sir, that room is right under the propulsion facility. If the infected are on top of the silos, then I'll need to be quiet. I leave them there, 6 terrified engineers in a maintenance room, and continue down the tunnel. My legs are getting lighter. Each step takes more concentration, more deliberate force. I'm compensating like I used to in the ISS. Push off with more strength than you need. Aim for the next handhold, control your momentum. Except here there's gravity fighting me, and the infection fighting gravity, and I'm caught between 2 contradictory physics systems. The tunnel ends at a steel door, propulsion facility, subsystem access, authorized personnel only. I can hear them through the door, the humming, so loud it vibrates in my bones, in my teeth, in the infection spreading through my tissue. It's not random noise, it's communication, organized. I can almost understand it, almost hear patterns in the frequency like language, but nothing human vocal cords could produce. They're calling to me. The infection wants me to open that door, wants me to join them, wants me to float up and become part of their collective whatever they are. And the terrifying thing is part of me wants to. Part of me that's already been infected, already been converted to their physics, their biology. That part is screaming to ascend, to let go, to stop fighting gravity and embrace whatever they've become. I grab the door handle. My infected arm reaches forward on its own, eager. Not yet, I tell it. Tell myself. We've got work to do first. I open the door. The valve control room is a concrete box 20 feet square, filled with pneumatic controls and pressure gauges and mechanical systems that haven't been updated since Apollo because they work and NASA doesn't fix what isn't broken. The ceiling is low, the lighting is industrial, and directly above me, separated by maybe 8 feet of concrete, are the fuel silos where hundreds of infected are performing their terrible transformation of steel into biology. I can hear them, feel them. The humming penetrates the concrete like it's not even there, and my body responds. My legs lift. For a moment, I'm actually floating in the control room, hovering 2 feet off the ground, and it feels right, natural, like this is what bodies are supposed to do. No, focus. I force myself down, grab a pipe, hold on. The phone, Rodriguez said, there's a hardline phone. I find it on the wall, pick up the receiver. Deadline. Try again. Static. Then, is range control? Identify yourself. Sandra. It's Jack. I'm in the valve room. I need override codes. Jack? Jesus. We lost your signal 20 minutes ago. We thought. Authorization codes are November 7 Alpha 409 Romeo. Jack. The infected. They're doing something to the silos. Satellite imagery shows. I know. I can hear them. Sandra, when I shut down the system, what happens to the dormant spores in the tanks? Silence. Then, they go into secondary containment. Underground storage, triple sealed. Should be safe. Should be. Jack, we don't know what these things are capable of. The infected are rewriting basic physics. If the spores are intelligent enough to do that, then we're buying time, not solving the problem. I get it. I look at the control panel. 20 pneumatic valves, each one color-coded and labeled in that precise NASA way where every word matters. Primary isolation, yellow. Secondary dump, red. Manual pressure release, blue. The sequence is critical. Get it wrong and Carlos was right. I'll create a cascade that ruptures everything. But my hands are floating now. Both of them. I can't feel the controls anymore. Can't feel my fingers except as distant abstractions. The infection has spread through my arms completely. I wedge my legs under a pipe to anchor myself, use my elbows to work the valves. Yellow first. The primary isolation valve takes 80 pounds of force to turn. Safety feature, and I have to use my entire body weight, pushing with my shoulder because my hands won't grip. The valve turns. Click. Locked. Red second. Secondary dump. This one's easier, only 40 pounds, but my shoulder is numb too now. The infection is in my spine, spreading into my core, and I can feel my organs getting lighter. My heart floating in my ribcage. My lungs trying to drift upward against my diaphragm. Turn the valve. Come on. Turn it. Click. Blue third. Manual pressure release. This one should be simple, just a quick release lever, but my entire upper body is floating now. I'm holding on with my legs alone, and my legs are starting to lose their grip because the infection is there too, spreading through my hips, my thighs, my knees. The humming above me gets louder. Urgent. They know what I'm doing. The infected, the spores, whatever collective intelligence is running this invasion, they know I'm killing their fuel supply, their expansion vector. The concrete ceiling cracks. Not collapses, cracks. Hairline fractures spreading across the surface, and through the gaps I can see them. The infected pressing down, their bodies somehow phasing through solid matter where they touch, turning concrete into something translucent, something permeable. They're coming for me. I grab the blue lever with my teeth because it's the only part of me that still has feeling, still responds to my nervous system. Bite down hard enough to crack a molar, taste blood and metal and that cold infection flavor. Pull. The lever doesn't move. Above me, a hand comes through the ceiling, just pushes through like the concrete is water, fingers spread, reaching down toward me. I can see the crystalline structure spreading through the concrete from the touch point, the entire ceiling starting to transform. I pull harder. The lever is stuck, safety locked, designed so you can't accidentally trip it. You have to input the override code first, type it into the keypad beside the valve system. November 7 Alpha 409 Romeo. But I can't feel my hands. The ceiling is dissolving. More hands reaching through, dozens of them, the infected descending through solid matter like it's nothing, like physics stopped applying to them completely. And I understand now they're not just defying gravity. They're defying everything. Matter, energy, space itself. The spores have rewritten their existence at such a fundamental level that reality has to accommodate them instead of the other way around. We never stood a chance. My body lifts, fully lifts. I'm floating now, legs losing their grip on the pipe, the infection complete. I can feel my consciousness starting to drift, starting to merge with that terrible humming, and part of me understands it now. It's not language. It's more basic than that. It's the collective awareness of a billion spores experiencing their first atmosphere, their first gravity well, their first chance to spread beyond the frozen death of space. They're not invading, they're celebrating. The phone is still in my hand. No, floating beside me, the receiver dangling. I can hear Sandra screaming, "Jack! Jack, did you release the valves? Jack, the airstrike is in 40 minutes, if you didn't." 40 minutes. Not enough time. Even if I could type the code, even if I could pull the lever, my body won't respond anymore. The infection owns me now. But my mind doesn't. 8 months on the ISS. 6 EVAs. Hundreds of hours in zero-G simulators learning to move when movement doesn't work like it should. Learning to think when your brain is screaming that everything is wrong. I've trained for this. Not the infection, not the spores, but for the floating, for the disconnect between body and intention. I focus, not on my hands, those are gone, those are the infections now. On my core, on the muscles deep in my abdomen that still remember how to orient in freefall. On the technique you use for rotating your body in space when you've got nothing to push against. Change your moment of inertia, tuck and spin, use conservation of angular momentum. I curl up, tuck my knees to my chest even though my legs barely respond. Start spinning. The rotation brings me closer to the wall, to the keypad, and I use my elbow. The joint still has some rigidity even if I can't feel it, to hit keys. End set. Miss 1. Try again. 4, 0, 9. The keypad beeps green. The blue lever unlocks. I grab it with my teeth again, pull with my neck muscles, the last part of me that still fully responds. The lever moves, clicks, locks into place. Below me, through the floor, I can hear it. The massive pneumatic systems engaging, thousands of gallons of locks draining from the primary silos into secondary containment. The fuel supply cut off complete. The infected above me scream. Not a human sound, but a frequency that makes the remaining concrete shatter, makes the lights explode, makes every fiber of my infected tissue vibrate in protest. They're cut off. No more fuel for expansion. No more dormant spores to awaken. The hands grabbing at me stop, retreat. The infected pull back through the ceiling, and I'm left floating in darkness. The emergency lights dead, surrounded by broken concrete and triumph and the certain knowledge that I have maybe 35 minutes before I become one of them completely. I grab the phone. Sandra is still there. Jack? Oh God, Jack. I heard the release. You did it. The pressure readings are dropping, you actually. Sandra. My voice is wrong. Hollow. The infection is in my vocal cords fully now, making me sound like I'm speaking from the bottom of a well. The airstrike. You need to make sure they know there are civilians in the Apollo bunker. Mission Control Basement. Access code 78-24-19. Jack, where are you? Valve room. But Sandra, I can't feel my body anymore. Can't walk. The infection. We're sending a team. Just hold on. The infected are retreating from the silos. The satellite shows them dispersing. Whatever you did, it worked. They're leaving. I float to the ceiling, can't stop myself. My body pressed against the broken concrete where the infected came through. I can see the sky through the cracks. Blue. Impossibly blue. I've seen that blue from orbit, from the ISS window, and it always looked fragile. Now I understand why. Everything here is fragile, including me. Tell Carlos. Tell him he was right about the cascade. I almost screwed it up. Jack. And tell those kids in the bunker they should post that video. People need to know what happened, what we're up against. Jack, don't talk like. 33 minutes until airstrike. You should go. Get to safety. We're not leaving you there. But they are. Have to. Because by the time any team reaches me, I won't be Jack Brenner anymore. I'll be one of them, floating, humming, physics optional. Another infected body in the evacuation count. I end the call. Float in the darkness. Wait for the transformation to complete. Above me, through the ceiling cracks, I can see them. The infected. Hundreds of them rising into the Florida sky, dispersing like they're migrating, like they know the airstrike is coming and they're spreading to avoid it. Intelligent, adaptive, already learning how to survive in our world. We shut down one outbreak. saved maybe millions of lives. But the spores are in the secondary containment now, underground, sealed, dormant again, until someone opens those tanks, until someone makes a mistake, until the next launch, the next payload, the next time humanity reaches into space and brings something back that we don't understand. My watch says 12:58 p.m. 36 minutes. I close my eyes, feel myself floating, feel the infection completing its work, rewriting my biology into something that doesn't need ground, doesn't need weight, doesn't need the limits that keep humans human. And I wait for the fire. Emergency alert. Cape Canaveral, primary outbreak contained. Emergency alert. Secondary contamination protocols in effect. Emergency alert. Evacuation complete. Airspace restricted. Emergency alert. All personnel clear blast radius. The bunker door opens at 1:47 p.m. Military hazmat suits, Geiger counters even though radiation isn't the problem. Martinez is still floating but conscious, tethered to the floor with cargo straps that Tesla dad rigged from the emergency supplies. The kids are crying. Mrs. Kim has Sophia wrapped in her arms. "Where's Jack Brenner?" the sergeant asks. "He went to shut down the fuel system," Martinez says. His voice sounds distant, infected, but his eyes are clear. Did he make it? The sergeant looks at his tablet, at mission reports, at survivor counts, at the empty checkbox where Jack Brenner's status should be confirmed. "The valve room was at ground zero," he says quietly. "Nothing survived that close to the impact." Sophia Kim starts crying harder. Tesla kid stops filming. Outside, where Cape Canaveral used to be, there's a crater half a mile wide and hot enough that it'll glow orange for 3 days. The infected are gone. The fuel silos are gone. The spores in secondary containment are gone. Jack Brenner is gone. But Florida is still here. 30 million people breathing, living, uninfected, because a divorced astronaut with a cat who doesn't like him much decided that 90 minutes was enough time to save the world. It wasn't enough time. But he tried his damnedest.